Manchester United are willing to fight for Roger Fernandes as contact is made with his agent. David Ornstein reveals Manchester United's transfer strategy. Viktor Gyökeres doesn't think Man United are the club for him. Dibling is a dream target according to Romano. There's a genuine chance Kobbie Mainoo could leave in the summer. And interest in Udinese's Oumar Solet. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So I want to start by going through, there's been a couple of updates recently around United's transfer strategy that I want to go into first before we go through the actual kind of transfer talk that's been coming out recently, because I think it gives you a really interesting insight into what's going to be going on and potentially going into the summer. So now this came from David Ornstein when he was discussing Manchester United's transfer strategy. So David Ornstein said, "We're hearing their preference will be to continue what has been their approach more recently. Younger talents costing lower transfer fees and salaries who fit Ruben Amorim's system and style and can develop into top players with increased market value." So David Ornstein effectively saying what some of you have been saying in the comments around recent videos and all the transfer noise that we've been kind of hearing, that they are looking at the more kind of like Dorgu-esque type signings, Aiden Heavens, Sekou Kone, Chido Obi, these sort of profile of players where young, developmental, lesser household names, I would say, but fit the system. So, i.e. well-scouted players, because the problem at United has been for years, it's not necessarily the scouts. We've scouted some very good players. It's just the people at the club, the decision makers, have never had the balls or followed through with any of the scout recommendations. Majority of the time, we scouted Haaland. He was recommended by Solskjaer. The club said no. Camavinga for Solskjaer. Someone at the club said no because they didn't think he was quite first team ready. There's countless examples. I'm sure you'll give me loads in the comments of players that we've scouted and the scouts have recommended to United that have gone on to be, really good top class players that somebody somewhere at the club has just said no to, whether that's because of probably was because of commercial reasons, because they weren't shirt sellers and we'd rather go down the likes of signing Cavani and Ibrahimovic and Ronaldo, and not that they're bad players or anything, but it's just not the right approach for United. We're not that club. They've tried to turn us into like a Galactico type model, and I don't think that fits our that's not what United are about. So I'm all for United going back to their kind of roots, which is scouting players, bringing them in that have the talent and have the development in them to grow and actually make them into superstars, rather than buying, potentially superstars at the end of their career, which is what we've been doing for years, or the last few years anyway. So I'm actually quite pleased with the kind of approach with going through, going for more kind of scouted players like Patrick Dorgu's, Aiden Heavens, and etc., etc. David Ornstein also went on to say, "So I'd imagine there will be further recruits along the lines you mentioned, rather than going for the likes of Gyökeres and Osimhen." He said, "Please don't hold me to that, because you never know in this unpredictable industry, but that is the direction of travel being explained to us." So some of you will say, so there's still a chance for Gyökeres and Osimhen, not dismissing them entirely, but I think he was just using them as an example to say, look, these sort of profile of players he doesn't think United are going to go for. They're going to look for more kind of younger, up-and-coming players. In terms of the striker situation, I don't know where that leaves us as well, because Ekitike, Sesko, the links with Sesko have been there for a while. Ekitike is the other one that's kind of a little bit more kind of younger, but he's still going to cost an absolute fortune as well. But it fits with what Sean Connolly was saying in the video that I brought to you yesterday, saying that the word around Manchester United continues to be unified, focused on recruiting youth and developing talent rather than overpaying for household names. This is not a case of attracting the biggest names in world football. We need to look past that dated ideology. So we need to remember that going forward. So gone are the days, I think, under Ineos and stuff, where we're going to be going for, the household names. We're going to look for the younger profile of players, like Nene Dorgelis is a prime example that we were linked with by Romano in January, is the type of profile of player I think they're going to be looking at to bring in someone that's well scouted, well kind of researched, fits the kind of philosophy of what we're looking for in the model, and bringing those in rather than the kind of big established named as well. But give us your thoughts on that, because it'd be really interesting to see whether you think that's the right approach, whether it's the wrong approach. So it'd be really, really interesting to hear your thoughts on the kind of new or the transfer strategy going forward. Just on Gyökeres, actually, while he's there, Duncan Castle said Viktor Gyökeres' assessment of where Manchester United are at the moment is that is not the option to take in the summer, where he'll be turning 27. He wants to go to a club where he can prove himself and win trophies. Duncan Castle has been fairly decent recently in terms of credibility, suggesting that Gyökeres wouldn't want to come to United anyway because at his age, he wants to go somewhere where he can win trophies, or Champions League football might be a big kind of indicator in that as well. We are still going to get linked though with Gyökeres, I think, between now and the summer. And I'm not, Ornstein said don't rule it out necessarily, but it seems a bit kind of unrealistic at the moment, which is a shame because I like Viktor Gyökeres in terms of the striker, but if they're going down a different direction, we're going down a different direction. Now, another player, actually, just while we're talking about strikers, another one that's been linked with us recently, Jonathan David. So Peter Hall has said that despite making inquiries, it is unlikely Jonathan David will move to Manchester United with the versatile forward, not the kind of profile Ruben Amorim is seeking. Peter Hall's a Messi journalist, so I'd want to wait for a bit more credibility regarding that, but could be potentially another striker, Gyökeres and Jonathan David, potentially ruled out of the equation if they were ever in the equation in the first place. But give us your thoughts on that. I know a lot of you are, kind of championing Jonathan David as well. I still think he'd be a good signing for a free transfer, coming in personally as well. But if they're moving in a different direction, it will be interesting to see who they actually profile for the striker, or just in general. I'm actually kind of a little bit more excited now heading into the summer. But give us your thoughts below. Now, David Ornstein also had the following to say regarding the outgoings. So remember, there was a list that I brought you before around like 11 potential outgoings. So he said, it's impossible to put numbers on those things, but the candidates are obvious. Eriksen, Evans, Heaton and Lindelof are on course to be out of contract this summer, so you'd expect them So you expect some or all of them to leave. Anthony, Malacia, Rashford and Sancho are currently out on loan, so are clearly players United are prepared to part with. Another example is Casemiro. So again, David Ornstein says, suggesting that we would be looking to remove Casemiro in the summer. And then we need to keep an eye on the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho. They are players I don't think United actively want out, but if suitable offers arrive and the club decide to entertain them from a football and financial perspective, there could be movement there. So again, David Ornstein suggesting that, Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho could also be sold if the price is right and the club, and for footballing reasons. So i.e. if they don't fit Amorim's style or system or the club's vision going forward, then potentially they could be moved on. I wouldn't want to see it personally, but everyone's going to have different opinions on that in the comments. Inevitably, some younger players will move on as well. So a busy summer ahead at Old Trafford. So Ornstein, it's going to be busy. We've got a lot of players going out. We know we want to try and get as many players in as we can. We've got positions in the squad that we really need to strengthen as well. And we'll go through all the incoming transfer rumours in a second. But give us your thoughts on that. I'd be really interested to hear your opinion on not just the outgoings, but also the kind of the recruitment strategy going forward. Some of you have been saying this in the comment for weeks as well, so fair shout for you for that. Now, just on Kobbie Mainoo, so Manchester United and Kobbie Mainoo could go their separate ways in the summer. There is a genuine chance Kobbie Mainoo could leave in the summer. Mainoo has been in contract negotiations with United since March 24, and an agreement still hasn't been reached, despite talks continuing between both parties over a new deal. Manchester United could look to bank a fee in the region of £70 million for Mainoo. Now, that came from Steve Railson, who's actually fairly decent when it comes to, works for the Manchester News, very credible when it comes to United kind of youth staff and bits as well, suggesting that maybe, there is a possibility that Mainoo could leave in the summer. But I think that's the case anyway. Obviously, we know he's in contract negotiations at the moment with all the, it has been kind of debunked, the like 200 grand a week contracts and stuff. Laurie Whitwell said that he asked the club and they said no, it's not a total rebuttal regarding those sort of fees. But clearly, that could be agent talk. It could just be media shit stirring as well. So we'll just need to keep an eye on what happens. Graham Bailey, though, said that Kobbie Mainoo's camp are insisting that he wants to commit his long-term future to Manchester United. There is now confidence from both sides that Mainoo will sign a new deal. And Gimme Sport was saying belief increasing that compromise can be reached with Kobbie Mainoo over a new deal. The Muppeteers was saying that they do want to keep Kobbie Mainoo as well the other day. So again, we'll need to keep an eye on that one as well. It could just be, like I said, agent talk, still trying to get, like, finalize a deal. Could be just media nonsense. Yeah, so we'll just need to keep an eye on what's kind of going on there. But give us your thoughts below. Now let's move on to some transfer news. So Manchester United will be willing to fight for the signing of Braga's Roger Fernandes. Ruben Amorim will have a strong say on the potential deal. Braga will ask for £25 million to sell Roger Fernandes. Now that came from a Jogo, who are a good Portuguese kind of outlet. Now that's the sort of profile of player that I could kind of see being way more realistic than some of the other kind of noise and rumours that we get with. That we get linked with, sorry. So, very, very talented. Remember, the reports were we were looking at him as an alternative to Kender. Obviously, Kender's gone to Chelsea. Maybe Chelsea will come in for Fernandes now that we're interested in him as well. Young, up and coming, developmental, fits the profile of what we're looking for, can play in multiple positions, can play right wing back, right wing, left wing back. Very, very talented or versatile player in the similar mode to what Dorgu is. £25 million is hardly exactly, an extravagant transfer fee for United. Would be relatively low wages as well, can develop. I like this deal. I don't want to get too far ahead or too giddy about it, because I had my fingers burned. We had pie in our face with the whole kind of Kender deal. But, the more I research, the more I kind of look into the data and watch clips and stuff like that as well, the more I like this lad, actually. I think he's be a well thought out kind of transfer. Obviously well scouted, and obviously Amorim will have the final say, but ticks a lot of the boxes for me. Roger Fernandes, and then Sully talks, used to be Sully says, very good recently regarding United injury news. So I think it's got inside kind of information at United. We're saying that Manchester United have made initial contact with representatives of Roger Fernandes in recent weeks. Nothing concrete yet, but United hold the player in high regard. So according to Sully talks, suggesting that we've made initial kind of contact with the agents of Roger Fernandes in recent weeks. So again, no smoke without fire when it comes to this. There are a lot more kind of stories potentially developing in a direction where this could be one to pay attention to. But give us your thoughts below. Now, another player we've been linked with a lot recently, Trincao. So Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim is keen to land Francisco Trincao from Sporting Lisbon, but the Portuguese club are likely to demand more than his release clause of £50 million. Ruben Amorim is keen to reunite with the player whom he coached in Portugal and is confident he would be a good fit in the Premier League. Now, that came from the Mirror. So another link with Trincao. He's only going to have a year left on his contract, though, in the summer, so I can't see us going anywhere near his kind of release clause. The fees reported before were around 40 million euros, which is around 33 million pounds. That would probably be more realistic. That could be another shout as well to kind of bring in. It's him and Fernandes that we seem to get kind of more heavily linked with over recent days anyway. So, give us your thoughts on that one. I think that could be plausible as well, but keep an eye on it for you and I'll bring you any updates. Now, another player we've been heavily linked with over the last couple of days, Tyler Dibling. So Tyler Dibling is a kind of dream target for United. He is a player they like, but very expensive, £100 million. And with FFP, it could be complicated. I would say it would be more than complicated, £100 million for Tyler Dibling. Southampton want £100 million. They believe he is one of the best players in the world in terms of potential in his position. And that came from Fabrizio Romano. I don't think we're going to go anywhere near Tyler Dibling at £100 million. I do think that we like him. I do think he's a player that we're interested in. Obviously, we've got the whole Jason Wilcox kind of connection at the club as well. He is potentially a really, really talented player, right? I don't want to kind of dismiss it, but he is nowhere near worth £100 million in my opinion. We shouldn't be going anywhere near or even entertaining that sort of fee for Tyler Dibling. Fraser Fletcher, though, from Team Talk said that while £100 million is the price being bandied around publicly for Tyler Dibling, privately, Southampton will find it hard to turn down an offer closer to £60 million. I still think £60 million would be a little bit too excessive for Tyler Dibling. That's the same sort of money that we were after for Garnacho, and I suppose there is a kind of question there. I mean, if Garnacho's worth 60 million, is Dibling worth the same as Garnacho? I would say not, but then it's difficult to judge because Southampton are a very, very poor team, and obviously, and he's so you are you are a victim of your circumstances sometimes. And if he's playing in a very bad team, it'd be interesting to see if he was playing for like a decent team and was doing Garnacho numbers, then you could kind of justify it. But I think at the moment, still think £60 million is a little bit high in my opinions. Maybe 30 with some add-ons, wouldn't be the worst idea. Someone mentioned in the comments actually yesterday that the £100 million is what the owners of Southampton paid for Southampton. So they want the same amount of money for Tyler Dibling as somebody bought the entire football club for. That's insane money. It's ridiculous, some of the transfer fees that have been going around recently. And there's another one. So Bournemouth have put a £70 million price tag on Antoine Semenyo. Again, don't think we will go anywhere near that sort of deal for that sort of price. That's why the Fernandes one seems so appealing. £25 million for a very talented young player. Ticks all the boxes. The Trincao one as well. I think you could get less than his release clause with him only being in the last year of his contract, plus the Amorim kind of connection maybe there as well. So they're two, I would say, more plausible. But clear interest in Dibling. It's just I don't like the numbers. Now, this was an interesting one, actually. So Manchester United and West Ham are interested in Udinese's Oumar Solet. The Premier League clubs have tested the waters for the centre-back whose current deal in Udinese runs out in the summer of 2027. Now, that's an interesting kind of profile. Was at RB Salzburg, so would have a connection, I think, with Christopher Vival. But strangely, he's had his contract terminated by mutual consent at RB Salzburg after failing a medical with Hoffenheim, and I don't know the full story around that. Someone give us a shout in the comments if you know more about the situation, because I'd be interested to learn what kind of happened. So apparently, they were trying to sell him. And he apparently had some kind of falling out, and he wanted to kind of leave. They sold him. They had a bid accepted by Hoffenheim for $7 million. Failed his medical, and then came back. And then by mutual consent, they terminated his contract. And then he's just gone to Udinese in January, I think. So it's really, but he's a very good player. He looks a very talented player. So it's a strange situation around him, though. He's 25. Big, tall, technical defender, would be relatively cheap as well. But my worry would be what on earth has happened with that situation. But, he's not played that many games this season because he was effectively without a club for the start of the season. I think he's made 10 appearances so far. But statistically, he looks very good, very talented. Big, tall, strong, good on the ball, ticks a lot of the boxes. There were rumours about Liverpool being interested in him. I think he had interest from both the Milan clubs while he was at RB Salzburg as well. So clearly a talented lad. Injury record before joining was pretty decent as well. So, I don't know what's quite happened with the medical and the whole kind of termination of contract, but that would be an interesting kind of player, relatively cheap, good age. Said Christopher Vival connection as well, with him being at the RB kind of groups before as well. Could be one to pay attention to. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. And Ben Jacobs linked us with Angel Gomes. So he said that clubs in the Premier League in particular are chasing Gomes. And my expectation is that, one, he moves to the Premier League, and two, there's a strong likelihood that either Tottenham or Manchester United win the race for his signature. Now, Ben Jacobs, I find to be a little bit hitty-missy, but is kind of a more credible journalist, I would say, at times. But suggesting Tottenham or Manchester United for Angel Gomes would be obviously a free transfer, has the connection with coming in. I don't necessarily think like as a first teamer, but as a rotation option, or as an Eriksen replacement, someone that can play in midfield, or as an attacking midfielder. He's had a bit of a dip in form though this season. He's not playing that many games, whether that's because of his contract situation or not, I don't know. So he's not had a good a season this season as he did last season, where he was where he had a really good season. But I think he's been playing in a bit more advanced, and he's not doing as well. So there is that kind of concern with him. But again, is he just down in tools because he knows he's leaving, and he's not getting picked because they know he's leaving? There could be something to do with that as well. But would be an interesting option to bring in as a free. I wouldn't be against it as long as it's not our kind of top midfielder coming in. Then I would have question marks around that. But give us your thoughts below. And then Fabrizio Romano had the following to say regarding the Sancho situation. What I can guarantee to you is that I don't see Sancho playing for Manchester United next season. Even if he returns from Chelsea, he is expected to leave and try a new challenge. So either way, Romano's saying, regardless of what happens with the whole kind of Chelsea situation, he's going to leave United either way. And then Samuel Lucas had the following to say regarding Sancho: influential figures in the United squad have no issue with Sancho's personality, but felt he was unable to cope with the demands of playing for the club before he was exiled by Erik ten Hag. Manchester United players would have major misgivings about the remote possibility of Jadon Sancho playing for the club again, as they do not believe he is good enough. Now, Samuel Lucas has got connections at the club. He's like really annoying because he's got connections, so he's someone to pay attention to, but he is also a shit stirrer that will do shit stirring stories like that as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't really does it matter what the players think about Sancho? He's going to be gone anyway, hopefully to Chelsea, or if not, he's going to go somewhere else as well. I don't necessarily think kicking up old wounds is the kind of right way to go about it, and that's why I'm saying he is a little bit of a shit stirrer when it comes to those sort of things. But yeah, give us your thoughts in the comments on that. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.